Alright, today boys, we're doing something very different for the channel. So I've been playing Pokemon for a large portion of my life, but there is a few things in Pokemon that I've never done before. If you've been a member of the Pokemon If you've been a long-time member of the Pokemon community, there is a thing called a Nuzlocke. A Nuzlocke, the rules are very simple. It's almost exactly the same as a normal playthrough of a Pokemon game, except there's a few little twists. The main twist being that if a Pokemon faints, that Pokemon is now dead, or whatever you would like to call it. Meaning that once that Pokemon faints, you are no longer able to use it for the rest of the playthrough, and you either have to place it in a box or release the Pokemon. In this Nuzlocke, there will also be some additional rules. The main one, which a lot of Nuzlockes use, is that the first Pokemon that you encounter in the area is the only one that you are able to catch. Anything after that, you're not able to catch. There's other rules involved and some more advanced ones where you can't use potions in the middle of a battle and things like that. I'm not going to be going that deep into it today. We're just going to be sticking with the basic rules of try to beat the game with losing as little Pokemon as possible, and I have to catch the first Pokemon on each route or each new area that I'm able to access. And we're just going to see exactly how far I can get into the game. So we start off the game just like any other. We're going to be playing Pokemon Fire Red today, so I name myself Cap. My rival's name is Toro, and we pick our starter. I happen to pick Corphish, and I name it Fishy, because another rule that I'm going to be following in this Nuzlocke is that you nickname all of your Pokemon. But we get into our first battle with the rival right away. I picked Corphish, he picked Kakuna, so we go into the battle. It's pretty quick, pretty easy. We luckily got a critical hit on the second turn, so we're able to take it down very quickly. Kakuna really only knows the move Harden, so it's not that big of a deal. Regardless, if it lasted more turns or not, we probably would have just killed it anyway. But we go into the first route here right above Pallet Town, and our first encounter is a Snorlax. Unfortunately, we're not able to catch it because the catch rate is so low, but we move on. We move up towards the Victory Road route, where our first encounter is a Diglett, which we're actually able to catch this time, and I nickname it Buffman because of the meme where Diglett's lower body is just a giant buff muscular man. That's all I ever see when I see Diglett. Then we go to the route right below Viridian Forest, and we encounter a Gengar as our first encounter. We send out our Diglett against that, and eventually we catch it in a Pokeball after a couple turns and a little bit of struggle. But I catch the Gengar and I nickname it Squishy because it reminds me of a giant pillow. Then we enter on into Viridian Forest, where our first encounter ends up being a Hitmontop that we're unable to catch because we didn't have enough Pokeballs, which is a problem early game because you don't have a lot of money, so you run out of Pokeballs very easily, especially because in a randomizer, a lot of the Pokemon that you find have very low catch rates. So it's a lot harder to catch Pokemon. But anyway, we move past Viridian Forest and into Pewter City, where we challenge the first gym of this game, which is Brock, the Rock-type gym leader. Of course, this is a randomizer, so all the Pokemon are random. So we get past the first trainer with relatively no problems. We heal up, we go back, and we face Brock for our first gym badge, his first Pokemon being Croconaw. We send out our Gengar, and eventually we whittle him down using Gengar's Lick. He got paralyzed a couple times. We got pretty lucky there. Then his second Pokemon destabilized, so we send in Fishy, and we just bubble him all the way down until we're almost dead. Then we finally send in Buffman, hit him with a quick magnitude, and there's that. That's our first badge down. Now, as we continue on through the game, we get the TM from Brock, and we move over to the right side where we get the running shoes for the first time, so we can finally speed things up. Now, as we move down that route towards Mount Moon, our first encounter of that route is a Charizard. Unfortunately for us, at this point in time, we have 3 Pokeballs, so again, we are unable to capture Charizard at that time, which is unfortunate because this early in the game, it's very easy to lose Pokemon, so you want to catch as many as you can. So at this point, I'm out of money in Pokeballs, so what I do is I enter Mount Moon, and I try my hardest to not get an encounter. So I walk all the way to this first trainer, and I battle her in order to defeat her and gain as much money as I can, and then I walk back out of Mount Moon. Luckily for me, not getting any encounters, I make my way all the way back to Pewter to buy 2 Pokeballs, because that's all we could afford. Then I run back to Mount Moon so I can get my encounter there. And my encounter here happens to be a Nidorino, which luckily for me has a pretty high catch rate because it's a early Pokemon in the game. So we start off this fight pretty simply, and we throw a Pokeball. We don't catch it on the first one, but we get very lucky and catch it on the second one. So we had our fourth member of the team, a Nidorino, which I inevitably name King. In this particular randomizer, all of the items are randomized as well. So the likelihood that we're going to find a Moonstone is very, very, very low, which I realized at this point. That's why I nicknamed the Nidorino King instead of like my Nido King, because I figured we weren't going to get a Nido King. But anyways, as we moved our way through Mount Moon, there was some other tough encounters. As you saw, we found a Lugia randomly, but we make our way through Mount Moon with relatively low ease. And then we pick the Helix Fossil over the other one. Then we make our way out of Mount Moon and towards Cerulean City. But first, I stop off and I teach my Gengar Mega Kick, just because at this point it really doesn't have a ton of great moves, and it's also the only Pokemon I have that's able to learn that move. So I just taught it another attacking move, just so I can get some more versatility in the team. I also checked if anything can learn Punch, but only Gengar could, so we make our way towards Cerulean City, eventually pick up a TM on the way, realize I only have one Great Ball at this point in time. Also, the TMs are randomized, so it's always, you'll see me checking those a lot just to kind of see what we have. But I realized at this point I only had one Great Ball, so instead of stopping and trying to get my first encounter, I actually just moved into Cerulean without getting the encounter. And instead fought my rival right below Nugget Bridge first before I did anything else. So we fight our rival here. He has a Primeape and a Breloom so far. So we immediately send in our Nido King just to try to peck the Breloom out of existence. It gets poisoned, which is good for us. Takes some turns off the battle. Then he sends out Primeape, which we sent Gengar in for, and we Nightshade him down because he's really unable to hit us at this point in the game since we're so low level. His next Pokemon being a Matang. So we send in our Diglett, Magnitude 8, we one-shot it, and then his last Pokemon, of course, is his starter Kakuna, which we just also Magnitude down because it's still a Kakuna, so it's still only as hardened. So we beat our rival pretty easily. He gives us the Fame Checker, just like in the normal game. Then we move our way up through Nugget Bridge, where we battle all of these trainers to get as much experience as we can, because the second gym is coming up, but our team, while seemingly has been really easy so far, and the trainers we're fighting are only level 10, level 15 max, I know that the gyms, at least the first gym, was significantly higher level than the other trainers I had fought at that point. Brock was like level 15 at least, but the trainers I was fighting were like level 8. So I knew that I wanted to get as much experience before going to the gym as I possibly could. So, I mean, obviously you have to fight all of the trainers on Nugget Bridge to make it up towards Bill anyway. So I tried to just train up my Pokemon as much as I could. I fought every battle on the top as well. So we just make our way through Nugget Bridge here. But then we fight the Rocket Grunt at top, which he has a Moltres, which almost kills our Diglett, so we switched into Fishy right away because water type's better than fire, and we fought him, and he actually almost killed Fishy as well, but luckily we were able to get away with it pretty easily. But before we moved over to Bill on the right side of this route to progress the story more, I decided to go buy some more Pokeballs and come over to this grass on the left to get our first encounter of this route. I fought the trainer real fast, but then I come across the first encounter of this route, which is a Blaziken, which it has a very low catch rate, unfortunately, but I had a good amount of Pokeballs, so I went for it anyway, and I happened to get pretty lucky and catch it on only like the 7th or 8th ball. So now we had Blaziken to the team, and I nicknamed him Chicken because Blaziken is like a fire chicken. You get the joke. Anyways, we move over to the right side, where we now progress the story by going over and talking to Bill real fast, changing him back from the Clefairy that he was. Obviously, if you've played the game before, the plot's not really the point of the Nuzlocke. But then we move down to this Cerulean City gym. We fought the first trainer. It really was not anything remarkable. So we just immediately move over to Misty. Her first Pokemon was Tropius, so we send in our newly found and leveled up Blaziken to fight that. And her second Pokemon was Chimecho. We keep Blaziken in, just keep fighting with that. Luckily we got a burn, so basically it was The Chimecha was basically useless at that point, so we're able just to sweep with Blaziken there at the end. Then we move over to the house where the Rocket Grunt had just robbed those family, and we progress the story by battling him. Unfortunately for us, I was playing pretty dumb, and my Diglett fell asleep, and I decided just to stay in. I didn't think the Clefairy would be able to beat me, but unfortunately I was wrong, so we do lose our first team member to that Rocket Grunt. Luckily, we were able just to send in our other Pokemon and take him out after that, because the Clefairy wasn't much of a threat to begin with. It was just the sleep that really messed me up. But we do lose our first team member. Big Man, unfortunately, will now be placed in the box because, as the Nuzlocke rules imply, I can no longer use him. But then we move down towards the next town. We go through the underground path, and before I try to get my first encounter on this route, again, like a lot of the early game has been, I don't really have a lot of Pokeballs still, so I decided instead of trying to get our first encounter here, what I should do instead is pretty much just fight all of these trainers here, get as much levels on my Pokemon as I can possibly get, because as I've stated, the gym leader ramp up in this game is actually pretty significant. If I had one gripe with this randomizer version that I'm playing on particularly, is that while the gym leaders are tough, the trainers themselves and the wild Pokemon that you encounter are actually very low level. At this point in the game, I hadn't done tons of training, so I'm pretty even with the trainers at this point for the most part. Obviously, like in this case, I'm like 8 levels higher though. And that's where a lot of my issues come in with the game, because it's very deceptive in the fact that you think that you're at a decent level because the trainers around you are at a certain level, but it turns out when you go into the gym, the leader's Pokemon are like almost higher level than you most of the time, so you end up having to grind a lot more, which I'm not opposed to grinding by any means. My issue just lies in the fact that because you have to grind a lot for the gym leaders, your Pokemon end up becoming pretty high level in comparison to everything else, and you're basically just one-shotting everything, and it takes away a lot of the enjoyment of having to grind and stuff. But anyway, our first encounter for this area after we buy 25 Pokeballs happens to be a Chansey. Unfortunately, I'm getting pretty unlucky here. Chansey's another Pokemon with a pretty low catch rate. But I had a good amount of Pokeballs, and I just wanted to catch something after we had lost Diglett, even if I didn't happen to use it on the team. So I just started throwing balls at the Chansey. But here's another great example of what I was talking about with the difference in levels, because at this point my Blaziken's level 25, but the wild encounters are level 13. Luckily, Chansey has a gigantic health pool, so I can attack it pretty freely. But for the most part, when you encounter a wild Pokemon, you can't even weaken them very much because the level difference is so drastic at that point that you just have to throw Pokeballs and pray that you capture it. Luckily for me, I got pretty lucky on the Chansey and I was able to catch it after about 20 Pokeballs. But I named it Scrambled because eggs, but I decided I wasn't really interested in using it. It doesn't have any great attack moves at this point, and I didn't have great TMs at this point, so I just put it in the box, saved it for maybe later, and then I moved on to get the bicycle voucher, and I went up and I grabbed that real quick so we can have that for later. But then I moved to the route to the right before I challenged the gym, and I happened to my first encounter to be a Raichu, which was a very important aspect of the team that we were missing. Coverage wise for types, electric was very good for us, so I caught the Raichu and I named it Ash. And then I moved down towards the SS Anne to get this part of the story done and get cut. But first, you have to face your rival. So Toro comes out and we battle him. At this point, his team's basically the same, just a little bit different level-wise. His first Pokemon is a Noctowl, which comes out and immediately puts my Blaziken to sleep, which I was not too excited about, as the last member I lost was because it was put to sleep. So I immediately switched into our newly found Raichu. Luckily for us, the Noctowl couldn't really do much to Raichu, so I just stayed in through the sleep. Then his next Pokemon was Persian, which again, Raichu was able to take care of really easily. Finally, next up, he has Hypno, which we send in Squishy to take care of. We get put to sleep for the third time this battle, but we wake up pretty easily, take care of the Hypno. Again, his last Pokemon is, of course, his starter Kakuna, which we're able to take care of because it doesn't have any attacking moves. So we beat our rival with relative ease. We get the cut HM. And finally, we heal up, do a little bit of training, and I think now we're ready to go and challenge Lieutenant Surge. Before that, though, we teach Cut to Blaziken real quick so we can get into the gym because you need a Pokemon Cut. Then we work our way through the gym, beat the trainers, and we challenge Surge here. So Surge now, his first Pokemon was a level 21 Cubone, which we send in Fishy for. Quick Bubble Beams, take that out. Then Venomoth, who's able to actually cut our Blaziken's HP in half before we're able to take it out. And then finally, Typhlosion comes in, and he's almost able to take out Fishy as well. Because he's so high leveled, but finally we send in King. He's able to get him down to one hit. He had already used his potion at this point, so we finally switch in Squishy, take him out really quick. We also level up, learn Shadow Punch on Squishy, and there's Lieutenant Surge done. And there is Lieutenant Surge down. Now we go back up to Cerulean. We cut the tree on the right side of Cerulean so we can make our way over to Rock Tunnel. Then we fight the first trainer here who had an Aggron, level 18, really easy to take care of. Fishy learns Knockoff here, we teach that real quick. Then he sends out a Torchic, which of course I stay in on, Bubble Beam that, end it real quick. Then he sends out a Registeel, and yeah, he exploded and killed Fishy. So yeah, there's our second team member dead for the Nuzlocke, unfortunately. Explosion is just one of those moves that it didn't really matter who I sent in, they were probably going to die. So Fishy goes down there, but we're able to finish her off really easily. Then our first encounter for this route is a Horsey, so water replacing water. We catch Horsey very easily. It was a girl Horsey, so I named it Katara from Avatar. Then we make our way into Rock Tunnel. My encounter for Rock Tunnel actually was nothing significant. I believe it was a Ditto or something along those lines, so I didn't actually even catch it. But we quickly made our way through Rock Tunnel all the way through the end, and we come out above Lavender Town. We make our way down towards Lavender Town. At this point, my whole team was very weak, so I was pretty cautious. But there's no real events in Lavender Town just yet. So instead, we make our way over to Celadon, where the first thing we do is I grab the tea from the old lady so we can get into Saffron whenever that point comes up. But I first grabbed the tea really fast, and then I made my way up to the top of that building where I would grab the Eevee, which is still randomized even if it's a static encounter. But I grabbed the Eevee, and it actually turned out to be a Porygon 2, which was a pretty cool team member, I thought. I'd never really used a Porygon in a Pokemon playthrough before, so I decided I was going to actually use this on the team. So I named the Porygon 2 Pog, because why not? And then we moved our way over to the route on the left, where we had another encounter. This time it was a Swampert as our first encounter. So before I grabbed the HM for Fly, I wanted to get this encounter real fast, and got pretty lucky here with another starter type Pokemon, which are very good to have in Nuzlockes. But unfortunately for us, it happened to kill Katara, because at this point Katara's HP was still very low. So Katara will unfortunately be dead in this run as well. But at this point we had about 40 Great Balls, and the rest of our team was full health. So I had no confidence that the Swampert was going to be able to kill anything else. So I just started throwing balls at it. Starters again have that low catch rate, but eventually I was able to catch it, and I nicknamed it Swampy because I was uncreative and I couldn't think of a good nickname for Swampert, to be quite honest. But I named it Swampy, and I was perfectly okay with losing Katara because I felt Swampert was a better addition to the team as opposed to Swampy anyway. But regardless, I trained all my team members up to level 30, and then I challenged Erica's gym. I made my way through the trainers really easily. Then I challenged her. Her first Pokemon was Magmar. We were able to take it out with an Earthquake from King right away. Then she had a Dragonite, which we sent in Ash for. Couple Thundershocks and Thunderbolts were able to take out the Dragonite pretty easily. Then her last Pokemon was a Weedle. Yeah, that Weedle wasn't going to stand a chance against any member on my team. So Blaziken just takes it out really easily. Finally, we move up towards the casino where we fight the Rocket Grunt so we can make it into the Rocket base. After fighting some of the trainers there, we make our way over to the Spinny Puzzle so we can make our way down to get the lift key. Basically, if you've played this game before, you know this hideout very well. Fire Red and Leaf Green were actually my first Pokemon games, So this part of the game brought back specifically a large amount of nostalgia for me. I don't know why. I just always really enjoyed this part of the game. This whole spinny puzzle idea was really cool to me. But regardless, we make our way through the spinny puzzles. We beat all the grunts. I grab the lift key really fast, and I make my way over to the lift where we can now go towards basement floor. Basement 4 floor. Yeah, weird naming scheme. Anyways, then we make our way up to Giovanni for the first time, and we fight him. His first Pokemon's a Curlia, and we're able to take that down with Chicken very easily. He then sends in Houndoom, which we're able to quick attack to death. Magby's next, and we do the same thing with Magby, and we beat Giovanni with only Blaziken, really easy. We grab the Silph Scope, and we make our way over to Saffron real quick through Celadon, actually. I decided now would be a good time to get the T portion out of the way. And then finally we make our way over to Lavender so we can go up the Pokemon Tower. But first in the Pokemon Tower, of course, we have to fight our rival again, who again has a different team. Now he has a Walrein, which we're able to take out very easily with Ash. He also has an Octillery now, again, very easily take it out with Ash. Again, a Seadra. Yeah, his whole water scheme didn't really work out too well. But then he sent out Deoxys, which I was able to switch into Squishy and take out very easily. Finally, his starter, which is now a fully evolved Beedrill, we were able to take out easily with Chicken. And we make our way up the towers, and we fight the ghost of the Marowak. We take that out very easily, make our way to the top of the tower where we take out all the Rocket Grunts, save Mr. Fuji, go back down to the bottom, and get the Pokeflute from him. And then we make our way back over towards Celadon after we heal up so we can wake up the Snorlax, which ends up being randomized to a Love Disc, which I didn't particularly want to catch. I already had a water type in Swampert that I felt very confident I wasn't going to lose anytime soon, so I just killed the Love Disc. At this point I already got Fly, but none of my Pokemon were able to learn Fly, so keep that in mind for later on in the run. But we move our way down towards the next town, and we encounter a Shroomish as our first encounter, which I'm able to catch easily and name Mush. Finally, we're in the next town. We move our way up, and we go into the Safari Zone, so we can grab the Gold Teeth and the HM First Surf, which will end up coming in very handy because at this point in time, our Swampert's only water move is actually Water Gun, which is, of course, very weak. So Surf's going to be a great addition for Swampert here. So we grab both of those, and then we head on out of the Safari Zone, and we make our way, after teaching all those moves, to the Warden, so we can give him his teeth, get the HM for strength as well. Then we go on to fight Koga, whose first Pokemon is a Spinda. We're able to take that out with Chicken very easily. Then he sends out Vaporeon. Obviously, Ash takes care of that very well. Next up, he has a Latios, which is a very intimidating Pokemon, but we have our Ghost-type Squishies, so we try to take it out, and yeah, we weren't able to one-shot it, so because Squishy was half health going into the battle, he gets one shot, and Squishy is now dead. But we send in Raichu, we send in Ash here to try to take care of the Latios. We go through a lot of damage. Raichu almost dies. I switch out, we send in Pog, and we're able to finally take the Latios down. Now, finally, his next Pokemon and last Pokemon is Dunsparce, which of course we're able to take care of with Chicken very easily. And we get our next badge, but unfortunately we did lose Squishy on the way. But we added Breloom to the team after we leveled up Mush, and we make our way over to Silphco, where we make our way up the tower after beating all the trainers, where we fight our rival again for the next time. Again, his team's different this time, so he sends out Mantine as his first Pokemon, and we're able to use Ash to take that down very easily. Next up, he has a Dugtrio, which Swampy is able to take care of very easily as well. Next up, his next Pokemon is Corsola. We Thunderbolt that into the next realm, and Walrein comes out again, and we're able to Thunderbolt that one more time. Finally, his starter, as always, Beedrill, comes out, and we're able to Blaze Kick that with Chicken, so we beat the rival for this one. Then, next up, we face Giovanni again, after we healed a little bit. His first Pokemon was a Shuppet. We were able to take that out with Swampy very easily. He sends out Gengar next. We're able to take that out with a couple Surfs as well. Then his next Pokemon is Teddiursa, so we decide to send out Mush here, making his debut. We're able to Sky Uppercut that Teddiursa, take him out very easily. Next up, he sends out Aaron, and we're able to Surf that just once and take that out. And finally, we beat Giovanni for the second time. Then we make our way up to the Saffron Gym, where we face the next gym leader, her first Pokemon being a Xatu. So we send out Swampy. We decide to just surf a couple times, and we're able to take Xatu out pretty easily. Next up, she has a Cleffa, so we go into Breloom, where we can Sky Uppercut and take that out very easily. Next up, she has a Wobbuffet, which, if you know anything about Nuzlocke, Wobbuffet's very scary because it has moves like Destiny Bond, which is another one of those moves like Explosion, where if it lands, you're just dead and there's nothing you can do about it. So I was trying to be as cautious as I could, and unfortunately, I just wasn't able to do anything. Wobbuffet was able to take Breloom out with its move counter. Finally, we send in Pog. Luckily, we had the poison on it, so we were able to just kind of stall it out till it died. Then finally, her last Pokemon was Charmeleon, which Swampy was able to come in and take out really quick. Then we go back to Pallet Down, and we surf down to Cinnabar Island for the next portion of the story. We make our way into the Pokemon Mansion. We get the key there so we can go fight Blaine, the next gym leader, and we make our way up to Blaine after answering all the questions in his gym correctly. And his first Pokemon in this battle is a Vaporeon, which Ash is able to take out very easily with a couple quick attacks and Thunderbolts. Then his next Pokemon is a Combusken, so we send out Swampy just to surf that, and we take that out very easily. Next up, he has a Tangela, so we send in Chicken, Blaze Kick that. And his last Pokemon is a Loudred, so we send in King just to double kick that a couple times and take that out. And we finally beat Blaine, getting our 7th gym badge. At this point, we make our way back up, and we finally face our last gym leader of this run, which is Giovanni, obviously. We make our way through his gym, beating the trainers there, and we make our way to the Giovanni fight, where his first Pokemon is a Squirtle. We're able to take that down with Ash and a couple Thunderbolts very easily. Next up, he had a Snubbull, where we send in King, double kick the Snubbull a couple times, and we're able to take that out very easily. His next Pokemon being a Magnemite. We leave King in, Earthquake that, take that out. Next up, he has his Shuppet, as he did before, which we're able to send Swampy in and take care of. He also has a Houndour, which we're able to just leave Swampy in, couple surfs, and we have our 8th gym badge. Then we move over to the left to make our way up towards Victory Road, and we have one more final fight with our rival before we make our way up to the Elite Four. So we're able to take out his first couple Pokemon pretty easily. He had a Shroomish, he has his starter Beedrill, both we can Blaze Kick with Chicken very easily. Next up, he has a Nidoking. We're able to surf with Swampy, take that out. Next up, he has a Muck, which we're able to send in Pog for, Psybeam a couple times, take that out. And finally, he has a Vulpix, which we're able to send Swampy in, surf once, and take that out. And we've beat our rival for the final time before we go over to the Elite Four. So we make our way up through there, and we go head our way into Victory Road. Fine, we make our way through that with relative ease. And finally, we're at the Indigo Plateau, where we heal up, grab our items, and make our way into the Elite Four, where we face the first member, Lorelei. Lorelei's first Pokemon was a Metapod, so we sent in Chicken to take that out as quickly as we can. Next up, she has Registeel, so we keep our Chicken in, Blaze Kick that as well. Luckily, no explosion on the Registeel this time. Next up, she has a Farfetch'd, so we send in Ash. We're able to Thunderbolt that down very easily. And her next Pokemon is a Furret, which we are able to double kick with King. Now this is the point where I realized I had trained all my Pokemon up to level 60, and as you can see, the Elite Four's Pokemon were about level 55. So this is the point where I started to worry that maybe I should have done a little bit more training before starting this, because by the time I get to the last Elite Four member and eventually the champion, we're going to be just about even in levels. So I started to get very worried, and I'd only had like 10 full restores at this point. So I was very worried going into this second battle with the Elite Four, because I'd only had 5 team members. And so, but I continued to push through anyway. We go to Bruno. He had a Salamence. We're able to take that out with Ash and a couple Thunderbolts pretty easily. He also had a Ninetales, which we're able to surf with Swampy, take care of that very easily, of course. And he has a Jolteon next. We're able to Earthquake that with King a few times, take that out after he uses his full restore. But King's HP is very low and he's paralyzed. So at this point is where I really started to get worried. Next up, he sends in a Mew, we send in our Pog, who's able to just deal damage with all of his moves until we're eventually able to take Mew out with a couple try attacks because he got frozen. But now Pog is paralyzed as well. Then he sends in a Slowpoke. We're able to send in Ash and Thunderbolt that. Thank God we made it through that battle, because that could have gone very south with all the paralysis and low HP. But we full restore all of our Pokemon up, and then we face our next Elite Four member, Agatha, whose first Pokemon is a Miltank. So we're able to go into Chicken here and Sky Uppercut a couple times, cut once, and take that out. Her next Pokemon's a Chansey, so we just stay in, do the exact same thing, Sky Uppercut. Her next Pokemon's a Jinx, so we're able to Heat Wave that and one-shot that. And her last Pokemon's a Steelix. Yeah, fire types were... Blaziken's basically the exact counter I needed for her whole team. But she sends in her last Pokemon, which is a Flygon, and we're able to send in Swampy and just surf that a couple times to take that out eventually. Unfortunately, it gets a lot of damage off on Swampy, so we have to switch into Pog here to try attack it down. But luckily, we got the freeze there, and we're able to take the Flygon down without losing any members. And we go into our final Elite Four member, who is Lance. And his first Pokemon is an Ariados, which we're able to Earthquake a couple times with Swampy to take out. Next up, he has a Blossom, so we go into Chicken, Heat Wave that. And next up, he has a Moltres, which is, again, where I really started to worry, because Moltres has already almost taken down a couple members of my team before in a different battle. So I was very worried about that one. But we're able to take that out very easily. His next Pokemon was a Beautyfly, so we're able to just Heat Wave that. And finally, his last Pokemon was a Persian, which we're able to kill with Chicken as well. And now we move on to our last fight of the Nuzlocke, which is, of course, the champion rival Toro. And we are able to heal basically all the way up to full. At this point, I'm out of full restores. I actually have two, but I'm basically out of full restores at this point. So he has a Mischievous. We immediately go into Pog to Psybeam that a couple times to try to kill. But unfortunately, he switches out to Alakazam. And Alakazam is able to take Pog out. And so instead, we go into Ash. Again, Alakazam is able to do a lot of damage to Ash. So Ash is well below half HP. And he sends in Marshtomp. So instead of staying in, I switch over into King. I try to take that out with King. But unfortunately, a lot of King's moves were just missing and weren't doing enough damage. So King's now one shot, only at 12 HP. We send in our own Swampert to finally take down the Marshtomp, his next Pokemon being a Lantern, which I thought I could take out with an Earthquake if I outsped, which I did. But now, again, another one of our Pokemon is now one-shot territory, and he has a good amount of Pokemon left. So he sends in Mischievous again, so we go back into Chicken, because at this point, Chicken's our only Pokemon with full HP. And I know he still has a Beedrill, so we're able to take his Mischievous out since it was one shot, and his Beedrill out with Chicken. Next he goes into Ninetales, so of course I tried to swap into Swampy, but unfortunately Swampy is slower and it was at such low HP that his Ninetales was able to take me out. And finally we go into Ash to try to fight the Ninetales as well, but again Ash did not have a lot of HP, so the Ninetales was able to take that out as well. So we move back into Chicken to finally take the Ninetales out with some Sky Uppercuts, fortunately, and we do beat the rival and we win the Nuzlocke. Unfortunately, we only finish with 2 team members, but for the first Nuzlocke I've ever done, I felt very proud of myself for this one. I felt like I was consistently at a great level, I was consistently grinding out good levels, and I was able to beat the challenge, so I'm very happy about that. It definitely was hard at times, easy at others, but those last couple battles had me sweating a lot. I felt like I could have very easily lost those battles had they gone a little bit differently, so I'm very happy that things turned out the way they did. Either way, guys, if you enjoyed, please hit the subscribe button. If you liked the video, hit the like button. Yeah, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.